Hey, what's going on? We are Pull the Plug Podcast with myself, Mrs. Godzilla.
And me, Justin G.
Myself, Justin Briner.
And me, Sarah M.
Pull the Plug Podcast, it's a place where music fans, pop culture nerds, and people who love dick jokes come together each week.
A place of worship, if you will.
Check us out at ptppodcast.com for all your dick needs.
I'm Tom.
I'm Brad.
I'm Laura.
I'm Sam.
And we are the Pixar Pals, or you might know us as Disney Dummies. Oh boy, I hope you're all hungry because we're going to Paris today. Paris. Hey, do you guys like Paris?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Never been.
Never been.
Have you guys been?
Nope.
I have.
No?
You've been?
Yeah.
I feel like I should know this.
I stayed
With
twice.
who?
No, 3 times.
It's like the most romantic place on the planet, so I've been told.
So the first time I went with a Kentucky tour. The second time I went on my own on the same trip, like a couple of weeks later. And then the third time I also went on my own when I was living in London.
Oh my God.
I know nothing about my wife, everyone.
Correct. Or every time I talk about Paris or any other city I've been to, tongue's like, we get it, you traveled.
We call it,
that's it.
We call it Paris.
Paris.
I have been to Paris and Disney World.
Honestly, a lot cleaner.
Well, everyone, this is Pixar Pals, the show where we go through all of the Pixar animated feature films in chronological order from Toy Story to today's episode, where we are going to be munching down on some delicious grub made by one adorable rodent, Ratatouille.
That's not his name.
That's
not his
name.
Well, yeah.
Well, the movie's Ratatouille, but I feel like how often do you think people screw that up?
All the time.
All the time, right?
All the time. It's like Zelda and Link.
That's a great comparison, Sam.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison. Let's go
because you eat Zelda at the end.
Yeah, I don't think Zelda can cook though. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
Anyone can cook.
Link can.
Link can cook.
definitely
Link can cook. Anyone can cook but Zelda. This is Ratatouille 2007.
Whoa.
So we're already moving pretty far up and we're getting already pretty close to modern time, I guess, where we are right now. But we have a few more years to go and quite a handful of more movies. But let's go into nostalgia and I'll pass it on to Laura. What is your nostalgia for Ratatouille?
I have seen Ratatouille a couple of times. I have listened to the soundtrack many times, and I don't remember any specifics around any of it.
Interesting. So you've only seen it a few times, max.
Yeah. Like 2 or 3 times.
Generally.
But I feel very familiar with it.
Okay.
Even though I haven't actually watched it a ton.
Interesting. Brad?
I definitely watched, this movie a pretty good amount. I remember, I don't specifically remember when it came out, but I remember all the buzz at Sheridan, as I mentioned on the last cast. This is around the time when I was at college for animation. So everybody was like shitting their pants over every Pixar, Disney, or DreamWorks movie that came out. And this was no exception. The art books were everywhere. People were like buzzing about it. And especially after Cars, everybody was pretty pumped at how good Ratatouille was. So yeah, I don't specifically remember seeing it, but I must have gone and seen it in theaters.
I thought all you Brads stick together. Wasn't that a thing? You bird nerds here?
I don't know what
this
that is.
This is a Brad Bird movie, is it not?
Oh, Brad Bird movie. It is a Brad Bird movie. Yeah, and I actually don't feel like I knew that until the credits came at the end. And then I was like, oh shit, this is Brad Bird?
I feel like you called yourself a bird nerd in the Incredibles episode that we did.
That definitely sounds like
I think that was the nickname I gave Brad.
Yeah? Okay. Because I feel like I called him a bird nerd and he doesn't even have that credit anymore because he doesn't even know what that is. So
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and your friends called yourselves the bird herd, right?
Okay. Move on, Sam. What do you think? What is your nostalgia?
So I was just like looking up dates because as I was watching this, I was thinking this as well, where I don't think I saw this. No, I must have seen this one in theaters. I don't think I've seen it since I saw it in theaters. So it was like very new to me this watch around. I remember enjoying it though. Like I remember having a good time. I just never owned this one or like really revisited it much. And I only looked it up the dates because I was just wondering where this like falls comparatively to the Disney movies, because we're still in Pixar and technically they're Disney now, but like because I didn't see Cars and then I did, like I said, I think I saw this in theaters. I feel like it was just a time in my life where I wasn't going to as many movies, which holds up because it would have been right when we graduated 2007 would have been when we were starting university.
That sounds about right.
Correct.
Yeah. So we were like starting university. So I feel like I was not making it out to as many animated movies for the first like couple of years, maybe, because I did not see this. So to put into perspective, listeners, if you listen to Disney Dummies.
I mean, it's the same feed. I bet you they do.
Yeah. So this movie is coming out at the same time as like Meet the Robinsons, which is bonkers. That like, just to put into perspective how ahead Pixar is in quality.
That is insane, because Meet the Robinsons, if you like, even in my memory, I'd be like, that like, I like the movie fine, but like animation wise and just how it looks, much
Visually.
more janky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like same with like Cars came out, and that was when Disney did Chicken Little, and like I did not see any of those in theaters. So it's just like a wild time where Pixar, I mean, I feel like we kept saying like these are all event movies and blah blah blah, but I feel like any Pixar movie was an event movie just because they were so ahead. It's like Avatar, people who don't give a fuck about Avatar, but they're like, well, we gotta go see it for the visuals. I feel like Pixar was like, I mean, Pixar has good story, so it's not the same, but like people went to see it for the spectacle of a Pixar movie.
So interesting enough that you say event movie. Question, new segment for the the next handful. Event movie, question mark? Laura, yes or no? Stunned.
The pause means no.
Pause means no.
I guess if this is a lock or no lock situation, it's a no.
Okay. Sam?
I say no.
Brad?
I don't think so. I think it kind of, in hindsight, gained that like reputation a little bit, but I feel like I don't remember it being like an event. I remember everybody being like, oh yeah, like Pixar's back. They did an awesome movie.
Yeah.
But if we compare it to like Finding Nemo or Toy Story.
Yeah, it's true. But
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Here's the thing is that I do feel like the story or the core concept of rat helps chef to cook has definitely penetrated pop culture in a way that like people just know it's from Ratatouille. People know that. I mean, like Ratatouille from Everything Everywhere All at Once. That whole reference, like it was very obvious. I feel like nobody would have been confused of what Ratatouille was trying to reference. You know what I mean?
I feel like there's a rat helps amateur chef storyline in like everything these days. Like
Is
Ted
there?
Lasso, Succession. Like you can't escape it. It's everywhere.
You're just saying popular TV shows that have nothing to do with that.
I mean, this movie really put Ratatouille, the food dish, on the map.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've definitely ordered Ratatouille because of this movie.
I still haven't.
It was okay.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like an event movie in the way that I was really looking forward to watching this movie again when we started all the Pixar movies. But yeah, when it came, I think it's just garnered that like cult status in a way. I mean, it's not a cult, of course, but like over time, people are appreciating it more, and it's kind of like spread out into the zeitgeist, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own.
I agree.
I feel like that's more of an homage to Pixar being so well known, though, because it's like, yes, Ratatouille and all these pop cultures, but that's because we all know the Pixar lineup. Like nobody up till this point, I'd say maybe people have fallen off now, but to this point still, everyone kind of knew all of these movies. Even if Cars wasn't good, everyone was like, yep. Like everyone was so honed in on Pixar and what they were doing.
Every movie they made was just pumping money.
Yeah, you couldn't not know that there's a movie about a mouse that was a chef. Like
a rat. Thank you very much.
Come on, Sam. It's in the name. Mousatouille, get out of here.
For myself, just real quick on nostalgia, I definitely also seen this movie a good handful of times, and I also have a hard time remembering when I would have seen it or what, because I never owned it, and I don't think I had family who owned it, so it might have just been a rental that we got a few times, and then I saw it over the years, or maybe I like found it on the internet through some means, and then I watched it a few times because of that. but I always remember this movie quite fondly. And I with all of you here, we definitely had a few moments on the show where we're like, Ratatouille's coming soon. And we're always like, oh yeah, like we're all pretty pumped about seeing this movie. And I felt like going into this movie, I was still very excited. But that said, after watching this movie, that's when I came to the conclusion of still, if we're going to be like quite conservative with our what's an event movie and whatnot, I guess Ratatouille is not an event movie. However, it still kicks ass. I'm just going with that.
Yeah.
It is special.
It is special for many reasons, which Brad is going to help us relive all those moments in the movie with his summary.
Oh, yes. Everybody's got to buckle up. There was a lot to summarize in this particular movie I found. So one thing I noticed right off the bat, actually, before things even started, I don't feel like I noticed this in any of the previous Pixar movies, but over the Disney logo and the Pixar logo, there was like Ratatouille music playing. And I feel like normally it's the logo music. So that kind of like caught my ear, I guess, where I was like, I don't know if they did that before. So I thought that was interesting. So we start off the movie with Gusteau on the TV, and it's an interview, and he's talking about chefs and how the best food comes in Paris and how anyone can cook. And I kind of like that immediately you get like the whole catch of the movie. The whole like point of the movie is anybody can cook. You also get your first look at Anton Ego, who's the food critic, super creepy looking. And his whole thing is not anybody can do it. He's just like, that's all bullshit. Then it's like kind of a smash cut. You get your title, Ratatouille.
Which is interesting the way they did it, because it's such a interesting part where they cut to no music, and it's just like Pixar presents Ratatouille. It's pretty silent. I thought that was just an interesting creative choice for like such a colorful and, you know, Frenchy music kind of movie to just have the title silent.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I noticed that as well, where it's kind of soft music in the beginning and then no music. And I feel like they really save the colorful stuff and the music kind of crescendos later on.
Once you find out it's in Paris,
Yeah, when he gets to the rooftop, which we'll get there. We'll get there. So it starts with Remy. And I also thought this was interesting, speaking of like the titles and no music, how Remy, the first time you see him, he like blasts through the door and he's got the book and it's like freeze frame. It's kind of like the old thing where it's like, yup, that's me. Like, Another thing is I noticed there's a lot of montages in this movie. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I'll point them out as well.
I didn't notice it, but now that you brought it up, I'm clicking into that. Yeah.
So, you see some fun rat sequences after that initial title card. You see the rats doing all their rat type things. You get that first visual of the non-Remy rat with like the glowing yellow eye. He's all silhouetted and super creepy. You're at this creepy, well, not creepy, but this like not colorful farmhouse kind of thing. Oh, this is where you find out, or Remy finds out that he's got a knack for having a really good sense of smell that other rats don't have, or they just don't care to smell or taste food. So Remy stops somebody from eating poison food, and he finds they're at poison. He becomes the food poison checker for them all because his gift of smell is so good, as he says. This is where he then is in the house. He's arguing with his dad here. You get, if you are what you eat only the good stuff, is what Remy's philosophy is at that point. Whereas his dad is like, nah, food is fuel. If you don't put it in your engine, you die. So very opposing viewpoints, which we will come back to later there's a lot of like full circle stuff in this movie.
Remy is nice. An artist, you know? Dad is not.
Yeah. So Remy sees Gusteau on the TV after all this, and Gusteau's speaking a lot of sense to Remy about food. Excellence is all around you. Just be aware to stop and savor it. That's like Gusteau's just dropping knowledge throughout this whole movie. He knows what's up. So then you get a really cool sequence of Remy eating food and getting the graphic representations around him, which I really like, where it all goes black and he's biting things, and it's like the music goes with it and everything.
It's a little psychedelic, like slightly.
Yeah, exactly. And I like to think about like who they assign to be like, okay, you got to eat this and just like paint how it feels. Which is always fun. So Remy begins. This is what causes Remy to like it awakens something in him when he's kind of tasting all the food. And he begins his secret life of cooking things. And with his brother, Emil, right? Emil, they find a mushroom, get up on the roof to cook it because Remy's just super excited. They get struck by lightning, and it gives the mushroom a nice lightning-y flavor, which they all really like. So he wants to do it again, but this time he needs saffron. So he's like, we gotta go in the house. Emil's like, that's a bad idea. But Remy's like, we gotta go in the house. We gotta get saffron. So they go in the house. They're looking for it. Remy sees Gusteau on the TV again. So like, oh, it's my boy Gusteau. So they started watching it.
I heard Cousteau, and then I thought, and then I heard in my head, I put together Cusco, and I'm like, Cusco probably could not cook.
No, I would definitely not. So yeah, they see Gusteau on TV. Gusteau is saying, don't let where you are from define you. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great. And this Remy's just like, fuck yeah, I feel that. So right then, this is where the old lady wakes up, whose house this is, and she starts hunting them with a shotgun. She's just going nuts, shooting up the place like crazy. It's pretty nuts little sequence of them ripping around. She shoots like a giant...
It's pretty reckless.
Yeah, it's super reckless.
Yeah, she's destroying her own home.
Yeah.
She's
Lady's
shooting
nuts.
from the hip, like not even aiming, just going nuts.
It's like, that is not the way to get rid of a rat.
So she eventually shoots enough in the ceiling that she kind of shoots like a big circle that breaks away, which I don't know if that's a real thing. I feel like, I don't know, you can't really shoot. I feel like Mythbusters should have done that, where they try shooting a hole, see if they can fall through. But yeah, so the giant circle falls down, tons of rats.
Terrifying.
Pretty terrifying.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Imagine
You
that.
have a rat problem.
Yeah, that is,
yeah.
I know they're cute, but that would be terrifying in real life.
How did you not notice them before?
Yeah.
Did you never hear them?
Yeah, she really should have heard. Maybe she's hard of hearing.
That's true.
That's true.
Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, tons of rats, super, shiver inducing, and they all scatter and run. But Remy starts running, and he's like, oh shit, the book, Gusteau's book, because that's what Remy's been reading and studying up from. So he's got to go back, and the lady comes out with her full-on gas mask and like rat poison gas and just starts spraying everything. They're all running for the boats, all the other rats. Remy's like lagging behind because he had to go back for the book. They get into the, I guess, like a little, it's not like a river, but like a little pond, I guess, like a rat-sized pond in a way, towards a sewer.
Yeah.
To them, it's like a
kind of flowing. It's like a river, but it's slow. I don't know. What would you call it, Laura? A ravine?
It's like a little body of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A ravine doesn't necessarily have water in it.
It's water. It's flowing.
It's water going to a sewer tunnel.
A stream.
So they start
good.
going. Yeah, stream's a good one. So yeah, they get in the stream. They go into the tunnel. It's a very spooky tunnel. This is where in my head I was like, they're really going like dark with a lot of this right now, because I knew that all the colors would be coming. I also wrote here wet rat because of the graphic stuff, which we'll get into later, and how they did that. So Remy lags behind. His whole family gets too far ahead. I'm pretty sure on this viewing, you could hear the like rest of the group of the rats kind of give a bit of a yell as if they like fall down like a...
Oh, interesting. I must have missed
kind
that.
of thing. It seemed very faint, but I feel like maybe that was there. So Remy's lagging. He chooses the wrong. He gets to like a dividing path, and I feel like he chooses the wrong one. Maybe he chose the right, but just still didn't get caught up to them.
It was like a thunderstorm, wasn't it? Like it was raining, and he's just on the book, and I feel like, yeah.
In my memory, this happens so much later in the movie, and it's like a dramatic moment. I don't know. When I think, touching back on nostalgia a little, like when I think of this movie, I think of like them in this like a sewer moment where he has some like blow up with his dad, and it's really emotional. And that's what going in, I was like, oh. And so when it came this watch, I was like, oh, this is like happening right now. Right. Okay. Like
that's so interesting, because I have the opposite thing where I just completely forgot this part of the movie even happens. Yeah. But now that we're talking about this part of the movie, I think it's a good time to
the lady with the gun.
No. Oh. It is an abstract one, and I have a few of these. As
oh, God.
Usual.
Here we go again.
Here we go. The book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's the book so much as it's Gusteau.
Well, that's an argument. No. That's an argument. If you want to say Gusteau, I totally get it. He's a very capable, inspiring chef. But I would say the book, because I mean, first of all, it inspires everyone in the movie. It keeps coming back. But also, that fucking thing is indestructible. It just went through all that entire stream, and Remy can still read every single page like nothing happened. That book fucks.
That's unrealistic to me.
It's an animated movie.
It's unrealistic
There
to me.
is Laura, buckle up.
Yeah.
There is a lot of cartoon logic in this movie.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. Anyways, book fucks.
Yeah, I think I agree with that take, Tom.
Thank you, Brad.
Good call.
I like that the first Wii U we've got was for the book.
book?
But I mean, just like Cars, I guess.
Whoa, oh yeah, Bessie or whatever it was.
I love Hunter.
That was a good one, though. Okay, so so Remy chooses the wrong path. He ends up going down this. I think I wrote it as like a water slide. I wasn't sure how else to describe it, but it's just like long winding tunnels, water sloshing everywhere. It's like pretty intense and scary. Remy's like terrified. But he does end up surviving, and the whole sequence kind of ends with him just alone. I'm pretty sure he's hungry at that point. It's super dark and dank and wet. Yeah, he's very hungry. He's flipping through Gusto's book, which has miraculously survived this whole thing with 0 damage, as Tung said. He sees the food, his stomach grumbles. This is also where we get our first hallucination of Ghost Gusto. Gusto.
I'll take it. I like that.
Where Remy's, imagining Gusto come to life.
Gusto? Ghouls? Is that something?
All right.
we could be here.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gusto's giving Remy some pretty solid advice here, as per usual. He's just like, Remy, you just got to go up and look around, like see where you are. Maybe you'll find food. You got to go up. So Remy's finally like, all right, I'll go. And the camera follows Remy from this dark, just super gray and brown type sewer, like color palette wise, going up the drains. Oh yeah, so he gets into this restaurant. It's like a piece of bread there. I think this is where the bread is. Oh yeah, this is where the bread is. And I have a side note, this bread looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
the texture of it, and it looks delicious.
Crunch.
Yeah, so he's about to take a bite, and Gusto is just like
very good.
he's like, no, you can't eat that. A cook makes, a thief takes. So Remy doesn't end up eating the bread.
It's a good line.
Oh man,
That line fucks.
Okay.
All right, interesting. So Remy's like, all right, fine, and he doesn't eat the bread. So journey continues. This is where we get like a fun little section of him kind of making his way up through this. I guess it's some kind of apartment building with like a business on the bottom, residence above. But he's going through the walls. You get this moment where he passes this like hole in the wall, and you see like a lady with a gun and a guy. Remy runs past, so you don't see, and then you hear a shot, and then it comes back, and then they're like, oh, and then they start making out. Because it's Paris, and I guess passion runs high in Paris.
Yeah, that was pretty funny and intense, kind of, to have in like a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yes, I also remember being like, oh, in a Pixar movie.
Yeah. I feel like that couple shows up again later as well. I could be wrong.
Yes, they do.
Right? Yeah, okay. All right. So, yeah, he continues making his way up through the dark, sketchy places until he gets to the top and runs around, and the camera pans out, and it's an establishing shot of Paris. And you just see all the lights, all the colors. It is stunning. The music swells. Remy's blown away and just like speechless. It's a really beautiful. I almost want to call it a painting, because it looks so nice.
Also, remember back when Facebook first introduced like banner images, where you could have like your profile photo, but then this was one of mine.
Oh,
I like that.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I do like that. So this is where Remy's like looking around, looks to the side, and what do you know? I guess I should also say that like at this point Remy had no idea he was in Paris. He thought he was just like wherever. So this is like blowing his mind that he's in Paris, and this is like the pinnacle of food culture in the world according to Gusto. So Remy's pumped, and then he turns to the left, and lo and behold, there's Gusto's restaurant.
It's all very coincidental.
What are the odds?
Wow.
And then Gusto's like, you gotta go check it out, Remy. Remy's just like, I gotta go see this place. So this is now where we get the intro to Gusto's restaurant. All the food, the kitchen's just bustling. People are doing their jobs. The food looks amazing. This is also where you get your first introduction to linguine. What's the main chef's name? Skinner,
yeah.
Skinner's like not having linguine at all, but they're like, oh, we already hired him. He's like, what? And then it turns out just as a garbage boy. So Skinner's just like, all right, whatever, that's fine then. And linguine gives a note to the head chef, and he's like, my mom wanted me to give this to you. And Skinner's just like, yeah, whatever, get to the garbage. So this is when we go back to Remy. He's watching all the people down below because he's at like a skylight, and Gusto is like, all right, you've read my book a bunch, like tell me about, let's see how much you've learned. And then Remy just starts dropping knowledge about kitchens and who all the chef people are. And I feel like a lot of my kitchen chef knowledge, whatever I do have, is mostly from this movie.
From Ratatouille.
This and The Bear.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I was going to say, watching this now was interesting because I don't know about 2007 when it came out, but like I do feel like kitchen stuff is so hot right now, like for TV. Like we've got The Bear, we had The Menu drop, and just like countless cooking shows and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know, kitchen stuff is so hot right now, but like this was like before. But like watching a cartoon version of it is like, oh, like fun.
Well, I watched a food anime, which was it was like 100 episodes of cartoon people.
Could totally be an anime.
Oh, it was. Let me go on a small tangent here. Anytime, this was a weird anime in the way that like it's hard if anyone walks into it and doesn't know the plot or anything about it, because
is this the weird sexual one?
it's the weird sexual one. It's called Food Wars. So basically, whenever someone takes a bite of any food that tastes good, they basically have an orgasm, and like their clothes start ripping off and stuff like that. It's a very good anime.
It's the sounds that
part
get me.
is kind of weird, and that happens throughout the show. So yeah, great show. But also that's just going on this like food is hot in like TV and stuff like that. Anytime I see a movie or a TV show that just really loves food, it makes me want to cook something. So like after watching Ratatouille, I'm like, yeah, I do like cooking. You know what I mean? Like even like Chef John.
I was gonna say Chef is one of my favorites for that.
So like when they're explaining food or how it looks, I'm like, fuck yeah, food is pretty tight. So
It is an art.
yeah, totally.
Hey, food fucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Woo. Especially in this movie, though, because it looks really great.
Yeah, they really nailed the food in this one. So, yeah, Remy's teaching us all about all the chef position. Like, this person does that. This person does that. Gusto is like, oh, what about that guy over there? And Remy's like, no, that guy doesn't matter. He's some kind of plamour, as Remy says.
Wow.
And he's like, that's not a big deal. But Gusto's like, everybody's important, man. You got to respect the whole process. So it's when they're watching Linguini, Remy sees Linguini ruining the soup, this like giant pot of soup. And Remy's just like, oh man, he's freaking out. And he ends up falling through the skylight all the way down to the restaurant. Dude, it's pretty ballsy the way that like Linguini out of nowhere would just throw like a bunch of leaks in to the soup and like without even like not even knowing what the soup even is. He just starts throwing shit in there. I'm like, dude, no. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. And he, as it gets established very well, he is not a cook, so he definitely did not know what he was doing to just randomly throw things in there.
Certainly not.
So this is where we get a really good montage, or not necessarily montage, but this is where like the whole escaping from the kitchen thing happens, which is super cool and fun. So it's a great sequence, just like the Disney ride. I was
oh yeah, for sure.
That you guys got stuck on.
Yes, we did get stuck on that ride.
In the like dark, dingy part.
Yeah, where we were right under an AC and we were so fucking cold.
Well, I was good. It felt exactly like that Disney ride.
Yeah.
Because like
it was fun watching the movie after going on the ride.
You see it from Remy's perspective pretty much, right? Like you're pretty low on the ground, like with the camera, just following Remy from behind, and then going underneath like the stove and the fire, and then going into the oven. I felt like I was on the ride again without feeling too cold or too hot.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed this watch, being like, oh yeah, like they nailed it. Like, I mean, when I was on the ride, I was like, this is really cool and fun. But now watching the movie, I'm like, oh, good job.
Yeah. It made me appreciate it more because that was my least favorite paid ride out of all of the things. Yeah.
Right.
Premium rides.
And they did a great job because where you start, it has the window of the lady silhouetted. And then when you get going, it's like you go through the rooftops and you go down and then you're in the bottom of the kitchen. And Yeah, the fire stuff was really well done. Yeah, really good ride. They nailed it. So that's a really fun section. And Remy's almost out of the kitchen, but then he stops himself because he runs by and he smells the soup and he's like, I got to throw some stuff in. So he ends up throwing some stuff in the soup, and Gusto's like, you got the book smarts, you can do this. So he's like, as he's about to get out the window, he realizes that he just cooked something and he's captivated it. And Gusto's like, you know how to fix this. You don't have to just throw shit in there. You can like go back, you can taste it, you can throw spices in there. Like you can actually make this a good soup. So then Remy's just like, okay. And he goes back and he starts doing it. And you get this nice little Remy cooking sequence where it's just like to music and he's jumping around and doing all this stuff. And he's just fully in his element. He's in the zone. But
how did no one notice? Because at one point he like kicks like a whole bucket full of shit into the pot, right? I'm like, someone for sure would notice that.
Cartoon logic.
The kitchen's a loud place.
Yeah.
What do you guys think this soup roughly is? It looks very good.
Potato leek.
Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like leaning towards some kind of potato leek is what it looked like, which is like one of my faves. So
yeah, potato leek's really good.
It does look pretty good.
But I have to point out that, so the internet told me it was potato leek, but before Linguini messed with it, it was red, right? Like the soup was red. And then somehow it ends up white. I don't know.
Yeah, whose soup was it before Linguini messed with it and Remy did? No one knows.
I'm sure it was great
ballsy of
either way.
Linguini to just like start messing with it.
Exactly, yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. So Remy's fully in the zone, throwing stuff in the soup, just tasting it. He does wash his hands beforehand. They made sure to show that, of course. And he's, fully in the zone. And then, boom, he notices Linguini is like standing behind him and has noticed him. Linguini catches him. This is where the head chef Skinner comes back in, and he thinks Linguini is messing with the soup, which he was earlier, but he wasn't just then. But Linguini's like, no. And then the waiter comes in. I think it's the waiter. And he's like, oh, we need the soup. So while Skinner is yelling at Linguini, the soup is taken, and Linguini's clearly worried, and Skinner catches on. He's like, shit. And the soup's already gone. It's all this chaos. And then they're watching, and then lo and behold, the lady that it was served to just loves the soup.
It's a hit.
It's a hit.
Also, back to like he washed his hands. I feel like I wonder if it was a conscious decision for them all to be like, okay, we need to make sure people understand these rats are clean, because otherwise this movie is really gross. Because like earlier in the film, we already had a little bit where Remy is explaining to Emile how he walks on two legs instead of like the other rats, because he's like, well, my hand has to touch all the food, so I can't be disgusting. And then like he's washing here, and then later on we get more washing, and it's just like, yes, okay, the rats are good. They're clean. We are good rats.
Even the dirty rats look cleaner than what regular rats would.
Yeah, no, they're clean rats for sure. So this seemingly random lady loves it, but it turns out she's a critic, a pretty big critic. And she loved the soup. So then everybody starts ordering it, and everybody's blown away by it. Everybody in the kitchen's trying it. They're all ecstatic. And is it Claudette? I think it's maybe Claudette that
Colette.
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 100%. I feel like she's the only human character. That fucks, right?
Yeah.
I think she is. She's also the only like female in the movie.
And she mentions that later too.
Yeah.
She does, but she mentions she's the only like female chef, but that is like for me, aside from the fact that I guess the movie's all chefs, so like sure, that's their workaround. But at the same time, there's no lady rats either.
There's no lady rats.
Like what the fuck? You have no rats in your whole rat crew? Like there's one female in this whole fucking movie.
How are they reproducing?
What is this?
And the last Wii U that I have, I was waiting for Colette to show up, but Wii U, the kitchen.
Ooh, the kitchen does fuck.
Come on. That's
a pretty dope kitchen.
It's a dope
The
ass
whole time
kitchen.
I was like, okay, they made the choice, like how to make this kitchen look. And I love that it's copper pots and stuff. Like,
Great
which is
layout.
so warm and lovely.
Also,
and
did you
inviting.
notice that they have the water source immediately over the stove? Tongue, just so you know, when we renovate our kitchen,
that's what you want?
I will be arguing for one of those.
What are those called? They're like a pot fillers or something, because it's right by the stove. Those
An extra water source over the stove.
We'll tell the contractors, I want this exactly like Ratatouille.
And they'll know
That's the
exactly what
vision.
you mean.
Have you seen? Yeah, we'll make a vision board.
So yeah, Colette is just like basically Linguini's proof that anybody can cook, because she's a big believer in Gusteau's philosophy. She's all about Gusteau. So Skinner, the head chef, is like, all right, Colette, like he's basically yours. We're gonna pair you up. It gets more intense a little bit later for that pairing of like helping each other. But I'm pretty sure here he's like, all right, this guy's your responsibility. Like if he fucks up, it's on you. So in the meantime, Remy was caught. He's slowly getting out. He finally escapes and then is caught and like, ah, shit. So Linguini is told by the head chef Skinner to just get rid of Remy, kill him. Like he's a rat, vermin. They don't matter. Get rid of them. So Linguini's like, all right. And like, obviously doesn't want to, but he's like, okay. And just like takes the rat. And then you get this, I really like this location of like under the bridge, the way it's lit by the water. It's very nice. And this is where Linguini's having a heart to heart with the rat, but I guess at the time himself in a way, because he doesn't know that Remy can understand him. Although Remy's nodding his head like the whole time. So eventually Linguini realizes that Remy is nodding his head and can understand him. And Linguini makes a deal with Remy that Remy will help Linguini make the soup again. Oh yeah, because Skinner told him that he has to make the soup again, I think it was. So they're like, all right. And Remy nods his head, yeah, I'll help you. Opens it up, Remy takes off, of course. A little rat scurry, but then ends up coming back. So he stops, he looks back, Linguini's all being like pouty and sad and regular Linguini. So he goes back, and this is where their little friendship begins.
Does he go back because Linguini is sad, or does he go back because he has a chance to be a master chef?
I think it is both. I think it's a little
I
bit
think
of
it's
both.
his conscience.
I thought it was his conscience, but I didn't consider that it was his opportunity to cook.
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, but my instinct was that it's more so. Well, I mean, he runs away, but I think it dawns on him, and I feel like later in the movie, I feel like he's doing it for his own opportunities as well. But
interesting.
Yeah.
Right. I definitely lean the other way. If like between wanting to be a better chef and just feeling guilty in that moment.
Yeah, I guess. But I won't get ahead of myself. Continue.
I'll take it into consideration.
He gets pretty sassy later, is all I'm saying.
So after that, they're back at Linguini's place. Remy and Linguini, they're for life now. They're just like best buds. Remy falls asleep on the windowsill, windowsill, looking out over Paris. He's just like, he's living his best life right now. There's
a lot of really cute Remy animation I find throughout all this, especially when he's not like using his voice. Not that Patton Oswalt isn't adorable or whatever. That's his
I
name,
agree
right?
that he's more
like
pet-like.
when he's pet-like and not talking, he's so cute. And maybe it's just like seeing like bits of Lucy or our animals in the head tilt and the expressiveness of their body language and stuff. But he's so cute as a rat with no voice.
When he's nodding and shaking his head.
Yeah.
The cutest.
I wanted to see him later in the movie. I'm getting ahead of myself, but later he gets a little bed for himself when like there's like an upgrade. And I just wanted to see him go into that like
under the covers
size mattress, but for a rat. Yeah,
his rattress.
Okay, that's.
Next morning comes, Linguini gets up, fridge door I think is ajar, and Linguini's just like, ah shit, like rats be ratting. Like, this guy's cleaned me out. I should have known. But he turns around. I like that he's like, he took my eggs. Rat just apparently goes for eggs. But turns around, Remy's making omelets. They're, of course, delicious because Remy's an amazing cook. And then that's, they realize they're late for work. They run out of there. They get back to the restaurant. He's trying to figure out how to sneak Remy in because they got to make that soup again. They end up on the strategy of hiding Remy under his shirt after a few other kind of sketchy options. Like Linguini's pants, which would have been a different movie.
Don't you have pockets, dude?
Yeah, true. So
why was that even an option? Why was that even like, go down there?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like that would be something they would even consider for a split second.
Yeah, their strategy isn't really working. Remy's like not able to help like he wants, and they're kind of fighting. So they go in the deep freeze. They're kind of hashing it out between the two of them. Skinner opens the door, and Linguini and Ratatouille, or not Ratatouille, I just did it. Remy.
Take a drink.
I was going to say, do we have some kind of like repercussion for that?
Yeah. If you fuck it up, then you have to do summary for the next movie too.
Oh man.
Yeah, I like that.
Fair enough. So door opens, Skinner catches them talking. Linguini quickly turns the light off, which conveniently there was a secondary light switch in the middle of the freezer, which seemed weird, but turns the lights off. Skinner immediately turns it back on and Remy's gone and Linguini's just there, obviously like being a sketch bag and super weird, but he's like, oh, hey, blah, 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 and like leaves. So he's going out of the freezer. He almost gets hit by this tray of plates, but Remy sees it and Linguini doesn't. Remy grabs his hair and like pulls on it, and Linguini does this like janky duck swivel move to get around, and everybody's weirded out, but they both kind of have a little sidebar again, and they both realize what's going on, and they're just like, we can do this, we can train. And this is where we get the training montage.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. That's a good montage.
This is so, I feel like this is the moment in the movie where I was like, yes, this movie is a cartoon. Like, as much as, like, obviously it's animated, I think there's a distinction between animation and cartoons. And this is what makes the movie a cartoon.
Yeah, for sure.
I liked, like, just like the shots of, like, him pouring the wine, or like how many times pot flies out the window or whatever it is. Like it's pretty good. And conveniently, he never cuts his hand with a knife somehow.
The chopping of the vegetables, like hurt me to watch. I was like, oh my God, this is stressful. Because like I feel like as a human with my own like autonomy, I scare myself when I start chopping too fast. And so like, watching that, I was like, ugh.
I do feel like they were really careful to show in the montage that they were working up to the knife skills.
Definitely.
Because they did so many other things. Then I almost feel like it was like a music break when the knife comes out, and then it's like, and then it picks up again as they're chopping. It's like, okay, they're good enough now that they can use knives. Yeah, training montage. They're practicing everything. They're getting better and better. Obviously, thanks to a montage. Everybody knows if you want to get good, you got to montage it. They get back to the restaurant after all their training. They make the soup. Skinner's just like, all right, I guess you like succeeded for the second time, even though you're an idiot. But Colette's got to train you because you obviously don't know anything about whatever. And this is where we get a pretty badass Colette sequence. I just have Colette is pretty badass. I feel like this is where she's getting her like knife out, and she's just like telling him everything. Yeah, like I will cut you kind of thing. So then we go back to the main chef, Skinner, who's in a meeting over some like pretty terrible sounding merchandising ideas. Like he's just about the quick bucks
and frozen food. That's the frozen food business, bringing the Gusto name down.
Yeah,
so rude.
Yeah, that's why they only got 3 stars now. They used to be what, 4 stars? I think they
5 stars.
5 stars. Full 5 stars.
They lost a star when Anton Ego wrote a review, and you lose a star when the chef dies or something.
I did like that, where they're like, that as is tradition.
Traditionally, you insult the restaurant when a chef dies.
So the main chef, after his merchandising dude leaves, finds the letter that Linguini gave him. If you remember, I mentioned a letter early on. He reads it out and he's absolutely gobsmacked. He's just like, what is this? It turns out that this letter can change everything because he might be Gusto's son. Dun, dun, dun. So
Linguini,
Skinner,
not Skinner.
Yeah, sorry. Linguini might be Gusto's son. Skinner freaks out and he gets his lawyer on the phone. Lawyer's there. They're discussing all that stuff. And the lawyer's like, yeah, I get a hair sample, aka foreshadowing. Now we go to a Colette training montage, or a training advice montage is what I called this one. Because it's not really a training montage. It's more like, this is how you do shit in the kitchen. So it's more like advice. You learn more about all the kitchen chefs, like who they are, their personalities. The guy that killed a man with this thumb, which is a nice little...
The guy who kind of that's the guy who kind of looks like Gordon Ramsay, I think.
Yeah,
a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I also found one of the guys kind of looks like Mole from Atlantis.
Yeah. I saw that.
So yeah, a little advice montage. You get the customers out on the floor. We go to the customers out on the floor. And I kind of wrote that these customers seem kind of douchey because they're just like, yeah, we've had that. Yeah, we've had that. Like, what do you have that's new? It's like, I can't imagine going to a restaurant and be like, no, fuck all your shit. Like, I want something new.
Yeah.
So
like, they've been to the restaurant that many times that they just know the menu. It's, why don't you just go somewhere else?
Yeah.
It's Paris.
Yeah, true.
I guess it's because of Gusto, and the Gusto name was so big back then, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though it's only 3 stars.
It's only 3 stars now, but it was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's plenty of restaurants. So the waiter goes back and they're like, the waiter's like, they want something new, but they want something specifically from Linguini, which Skinner is just like, this is ridiculous. So the head chef gives Linguini a specific recipe, an old Gusto one, that apparently is like really bad. Even Gusto couldn't crack it. So Skinner's just setting Linguini up to fail because he now knows that Linguini might be the son of Gusto and he's trying to get him out of there. So they're making this dish, some kind of, what was it called? Like a sweet bread or some kind of sweet bread thing. Remy wants to make it good, but Colette's like, gotta follow the recipe. But Remy wants to follow his heart. So Remy's going around the kitchen, like leading Linguini or puppeteering him and grabbing all the different stuff to make it good or what he thinks will make it good. Colette's trying to stop him to put the sauce on, but Remy ends up getting the sauce on at the last second. Colette is not happy about that. And the dish goes out and it turns out they love it. The people, the douchey people that wanted something new, they loved it. And then they immediately get 7 more orders, which I thought was like crazy. Like they must have really loved it and like exclaimed that they loved it for like immediately 7 more people to order it.
I believe they actually all went, wee, wee, wee.
So yeah, everybody starts getting Remy's food, or I mean, they think it's Linguini's, but Remy's the one. So later, all the chefs are celebrating Linguini for how amazing they think he is. And the main chef, Linguini leans back, and the main chef, Skinner, sees a shadow through Linguini's chef's hat. Do they call it a toque, or am I crazy? Toque. Yeah. Okay, I thought I heard toque, and I was like, that's funny.
It's spelled the same, though.
It's spelled the same, yeah.
Oh, it is?
We had the subtitles on. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
It's a chef's hat.
Yeah, chef's hat. So Skinner sees Remy's shadow in the chef's hat. He's just like, what the fuck? So they go outside. Linguini's like, you did good, Rat. You did good.
Little chef.
Off. Little chef, yes.
Little chef.
That's such
good,
a
little
cute
chef.
name.
It is very cute.
It is so cute.
Is that a good name for a pet, like a dog? You know,
Little chef.
Little chef. Little chef.
I don't-
I don't know. I can see it. I can see it. Could be.
I could see it.
Laura, put that in the back of your head if we ever get it.
No.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, Remy gets a little celebration time of his own. Linguini goes back in, and Skinner snatches the hat off Linguini's head, trying to catch him. He's like, "Oh, got your toque." Skinner has some funny moments for sure.
Oh yeah.
So Linguini got lucky there; he almost got caught. So now we go back to the main chef, Skinner, who invites Linguini back to his office because he's just like, Linguini, you've done a great job. He's starting to schmooze Linguini, all that kind of stuff. And, he's feeling Linguini out. And then we
I
cut.
feel like for a Pixar movie, this bit as well is like, he's getting him drunk to like take advantage of him. Like, that's
Ew.
fucking bad. Like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah, this is, I think that is where they break out the wine, but you don't know that he's trying to get him drunk yet. It feels
Okay.
maybe a little bit more like a celebration at this point, but
Okay.
I mean, you can
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of
Yeah,
it.
you're getting a little ahead. So this is kind of like a cut back and forth little sequence we're getting into here between Skinner and back to Remy. So Remy is outside while this is all going on, and he's celebrating, and he runs into Emile. He's like, oh shit, Emile, what's up? And Remy wants to treat his brother, goes back into the restaurant to get Emile some food. Then we go back to Skinner and Linguini. Skinner is now clearly trying to get Linguini drunk to try to get info from him. Basically an interrogation. He's like almost straight up asking him everything. He's not being subtle. Then we go back to
Also,
Remy and Emile.
Linguini doesn't drink, which is why it feels kind of weird. It's like, I don't really drink. Well, you'd have to be an idiot not to drink this thing.
This Chateau du Front.
Yeah.
I feel like Linguini drinks, but yeah, maybe just not a lot. Because in the first training montage, he has the wine because he dumps it on his head. Oh, or does he actually drink it? Maybe
I don't know if he might
has
not.
Wine to
He might
dump
just
on his head.
Maybe
it's for cooking. Maybe it's
for
cooking wine.
Maybe
Cooking wine. All right,
I
fair
don't
enough.
know. Either way, whether he drinks or not, it's still not good.
No,
Agreed.
doesn't-
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
not.
matter.
That's
It
why
doesn't
he's
matter.
objectively the bad guy in this film, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So Remy comes back out with some food to give Emile, but he's like, no, you can't just scarf it down. You got to appreciate it. You got to learn how to taste it. Emile's doing his best. You got the little like blips next to him, similar to Remy's sequence early on, but Emile's struggling. He just can't do it. And then, yeah, Emile's like, oh shit, Dad and the family. Like, I totally forgot they existed. And she's like, you got to come see them. So they're like, all right. So they're going that way now. And then back to Skinner and Linguini. Linguini is toasted. He is smashed. And Skinner is clearly frustrated at this point, not getting any info out of him. And I do like this thing where Linguini is, hey, why do they call it Ratatouille? Sounds like a rat and patootie. Not delicious sound.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, no. So I thought that was great. I wrote that down because I was like, hey, name of the movie. What do you think came first, the dish Ratatouille, or did they decide to make a movie about a rat chef and then thought of the dish Ratatouille? Maybe that's indigenous. Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Wait,
right.
Brad, are you asking whether the dish came before the movie or the movie came before the dish?
No. Obviously, the dish was before the movie. I'm saying the idea of a
Concept
rat
of the
chef.
movie.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The concept of
in the
movie.
minds of the creators.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
If somebody just like knew the dish Ratatouille and were like, they loved it and they're like, oh man, Ratatouille. Oh, we should make a movie about a rat that makes Ratatouille.
That's a really good question.
That we'll hear about later.
Not from me.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask Brad Bird at our Brad meeting
Perfect.
next month.
At your next bird herd meeting.
Bird herd meeting. So we go back to Remy now. He's back with his dad. It's a full-on rat party. Everybody's having a great time. Remy and his dad are like, they're pretty happy to see each other, but they very quickly fall back into their old pattern of kind of like bickering and arguing with each other. Remy tells his dad that humans aren't that bad. They're not as bad as he says they are. The dad's like, all right, man, I got to take you somewhere. We need to go. And he takes Remy to what I assume is some kind of rat death store.
They're hanging like a bunch of dead rats in
But
the
are
window.
they real? I don't think they're real.
It might be taxidermy.
But it looks like a shop that sells rat traps. So in my head, they were fake because they're like, look how good our traps are.
Yes, I think it was rat traps. I didn't catch if there was a name of the store. I didn't catch it. I was just like, what store is this that like all they do is sell rat traps? So that was a very creepy store. And the dad's just like, you can't trust humans. Like they'll get you. They'll kill you for sure. So then we go back to Remy. Remy gets back to the kitchen, but Linguini to the restaurant kitchen. But Linguini is like fast asleep after his night of drinking because Skinner told him he had to clean the restaurant when they left. And Linguini's obviously super hammered. So Colette shows up and Remy is just like, oh shit. So he gets Linguini in an upright position, pulling on his hair, getting him ready, got sunglasses, very Weekend at Bernie's type little sequence here. So yeah, we got a fun sequence of Linguini sleeping and Remy controlling him, but Claudette not knowing that that's what's going on. And I love that you keep getting like the slow roll and like
that is a funny expression.
Yeah. So this all culminates with her basically just like pouring her heart out. 'Cause, she was just like frustrated with Linguini earlier. So she's pouring her heart out and Linguini lets out a snore after doing this head roll thing, which is like the most insulting thing in that moment. So she, of course, being the badass she is, just like gives him a good old smack across the face and starts freaking out on him. She storms out. Linguini obviously has no idea what's going on, chases after her. He starts telling her about, well, not about Remy, but he's struggling with the words to try to tell her. And he ends up saying that he's just got like a tiny chef who tells him what to do. And she's obviously weirded out. Linguini's being like super creepy and like very, just off-putting in a serial killer kind of way in this whole moment. So Linguini goes to reveal by like lifting his chef's hat and Linguini is going to reveal Remy, and Remy uses the hair, pushes Linguini into Colette, and they end up having a kiss in the camera. Music swells, camera pans up.
While she's grabbing for the pepper spray.
Yeah, grabbing pepper spray.
She's not really sure.
Yeah, and she almost goes to spray him, and then the arm drops away.
Forgot. I feel like, again, having only seen this once and forgetting most things, I don't know why I wasn't surprised, but this happened and I was like, oh yeah, like of course a love interest thing. I forgot. Like
I also forgot that because it's very quick of like, she's like, I liked you. And it's like, when did we establish that you liked him?
It's so out of nowhere and dumb. And again, because I've already mentioned how she's like the only female in like this whole fucking movie. And then I'm like, oh, of course she's also a love interest because that's the whole reason to have her here, I guess. Like it irked me and I didn't like it.
I feel like the 2 seconds we see of the couple who want to kill each other have more chemistry than Colette and Linguini.
Yeah.
Hot take.
And also, like, I know she explains, like, she worked hard and there's no females in the industry and blah, blah, but it's a cartoon. You could have just had other female chefs. You didn't have to, like, replicate the misogyny of the real world in the movie. I feel like
maybe they were
like the
trying to
argument.
make a point, but it's still...
It didn't work.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
just put
They didn't
more
put her in
female
charge at the
chefs in
end.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't buy that. I feel like that's them covering their butt, like, we know there's no girls in this movie. But it's like, yeah, you could have done.
No, we're not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything about
It's true.
it.
They
Anyways,
could
now
have
she's also a
easily-
love interest.
They could have easily made some of the other chefs women who have like no
They aren't
speaking
even doing
roles.
anything.
Yeah,
They don't. Whatever.
You should tell Brad Bird next time you see him.
I will.
I'm gonna smack him in the face.
Whoa!
All right, I'll take those comments under advisement for our next meeting. So we pan out from their kiss, kind of creepy, but also the music tells me it's supposed to be nice. And now enter Anton Ego in his coffin-sized room. And it's like a very cool room that's shaped like a coffin. And he's all the way at the end. But Anton is just like brutal with his reviews. I couldn't write down his whole review or his last review of Gusteau's restaurant, but I caught something about how Gusteau has put himself in history next to another famous chef, Monsieur Boyardee. It's just like, Anton is brutal. So he's just like, oh yeah, and this is all comes about because Linguini's making good food at Gusteau's. So their name is getting out there again, and people are like, oh, Gusteau's is good again. So this all gets back to Anton. He's like, no, I put a nail in that coffin forever ago. Like, why is Gusteau's coming back?
Is this has Skinner been let go yet? Has that happened yet? No, okay.
No, not yet. So Anton's just like, all right, I got to go check out this place. Because apparently I said it was shit, but people are saying it's not, and I can't have that. So now we go back to the restaurant. This is where you find out from the Skinner's lawyer that Linguini is indeed Gusteau's son. Revelation. Skinner is acting crazy at this point, especially about rat stuff. Skinner keeps like...
I like that bit.
Yeah. He's a nutbag because he keeps seeing rat things and Linguini with a rat.
But he's actually
can't
right.
Actually catch
That's
him.
the bit I like.
Yeah, but he's actually right. So he's going kind of crazy. He wants to fire Linguini and get him out there, but the lawyer's like, no, it's going to draw too much attention. You just got to last 3 days. Got to wait 3 days. And then that's when, like, I guess the will or something expires.
The 2-year window in which an heir may present themselves.
Yes. So that's going to expire in 3 days. And it doesn't matter that Linguini is Gusteau's son. So he's like, all right, I'll try to wait. But he's still freaking out about this whole rat thing. And as the lawyer's leaving, he's like, oh, I had to send the sample back twice because the first time it came back as rodent hair. And then closes the door. And then you get Skinner being like, ah. So he's definitely onto some shit. Now we get yet another montage of Colette and Linguini being all flirty. They're just having a great time. They get on the bike, Claudette's bike. They're taking off. Remy flies off the back of the bike and lands in a gutter. Some humans see him there. They're like, oh, this rat's disgusting. And that's like, run away. So like Linguini's living the high life now. Remy's literally back in the gutter. Remy's not having a good time. So we go back to the restaurant. Remy goes back to the restaurant and Emil's there with his friends and being like, oh, I know you told me to keep it secret, but I thought you meant like my friends were included in that. And they all want food, of course. So Remy, after all that just happened, he's like, all right, fuck it. He breaks into the restaurant, steals some food. He hallucinates Gusteau again. Gusteau's like, don't do it. But Remy's like, like my family. But he's got to get the key because the pantry's locked. And he's like, oh shit, I got to get the key. So goes to the office to find the key. While digging through all the drawers and stuff, this is where Remy finds like the folder that the lawyer had given Skinner that has conveniently the letter, the will, the articles, like everything that could possibly be needed to prove that Linguini is Gusto's son. And he reads the letter because, as we all know, Remy specifically as a rat can read. And this is where Remy's like, oh shit, Linguini is Gusto's living heir. So Skinner comes in at this moment. The head chef opens the door, sees the rat. Finally, he's caught the rat. And you get the chase scene starts, and Skinner gets on like a moped, chasing him down. I really liked Remy's run, his like scampering in this one. I feel like a lot of his camera angles are really low, which kind of adds to the dynamic scampering of Remy. The music I wrote is really good in this sequence as well. I really enjoyed the music here. So Remy ends the whole thing by like jumping off a boat, and the papers he's taken like catch the wind like a sail almost, and he flies to another boat, and he's very victorious. Gets it actually happens off camera, which I thought was surprising, but so the last you see Remy, he makes it across. Skinner's in the water up to his eyes, just like glaring and grumbling. And then you cut to Skinner entering his office, and Linguini's there just yucking it up, celebrating,
living the high life.
They all know. Everybody now automatically knows.
That's good though. Skip over that other stuff, right? Like we know they got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Chase sequence.
They made it happen.
Yeah. So they all know now, and apparently, Skinner is out. They're just like fire him immediately. Linguini's just like making changes day one. Apparently, he immediately I don't know. All of this was like, this happened so fast. Like apparently they get this letter. He immediately gets control of the restaurant. Immediately fires Skinner. Immediately starts making all these changes.
Love it.
Stops the merchandising. I'm like, oh my god. It's like
buys a new place.
Yeah, buys a new place. Like I don't know. It's a long day for sure.
The windows in that apartment. My God, the molding.
Yeah. Good point about the windows. Linguini's upgrading his life is what I wrote. He's just like escalating everything. He's just like, I've got money now. Although he had an amazing view of Paris before as well in his old place, I noted. But now he's also gotten a slightly better view, but because his other view was so good already. So while this is all happening, Remy is getting more and more rats coming for food. That whole side is sort of escalating. Remy's feeling guilty because it's like family and gotta pay your dues on that side. Skinner sneakily at this point calls the health inspector because he knows a rat's in there. So he calls the health inspector, but the health inspector can't get there for 3 months, which seems ridiculous. So that's all a bust. But this is where you know that Skinner's out to get Linguini and Remy. He knows what's up, or just, I guess, destroy Gusto's in general. We go to Linguini doing an interview because now he's like revealed as Gusto's son. He has control of the restaurant. Big interview. He's like a superstar overnight kind of thing. And this is where Anton shows up, and he's like super spooky. He's always really spooky in all of his shots, but he shows up and he tells Linguini that he's slow for someone in the fast lane. And Linguini says, you're thin for someone who likes food.
It's a pretty good burn, honestly.
Yeah. And Anton says he doesn't like food. He loves it. And if he doesn't love it, he doesn't swallow it. And that's I guess, a good rebuttal as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's not as good as you're thin for someone who likes food. That's a good one. He was probably thinking about that one later when he was like trying to go to bed. He's like, fuck, he got me. So Anton throws down the gauntlet. He's just like, I'm coming back. I'm giving you a heads up because like I know that you're gonna fuck it up and I need a challenge. So I'm coming back tomorrow. You can show me what you can do then, and I'm gonna write a review. Then we go to Remy and Linguini. They're fighting about all of this stuff, and Linguini puts Remy out in the back to cool off because he's just like, you're being too crazy. Like Colette knows what's up, you know what's up. I gotta listen to both of you, and Remy just wants him to listen to him, so he's gotta go cool off. And of course, Emil's there wanting more food. Surprise, surprise. And surprise, he's brought the entire family. Well, not the whole family, not the dad, but like a large chunk of their family. And Remy's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's break in. Let's steal a bunch of food. So a ton of rats get in. They're all like scavenging, getting food. Linguini comes back because he'd left. Comes back, turns the lights on. He's there to apologize to Remy. All the rats kind of scatter. It's kind of a black and white checkered floor. A lot of the rats like curl up in the black marks to hide. So Linguini, he's pouring his heart out, just telling Remy everything that's going on with him. And meanwhile, Emile is eating a bunch of grapes off on the side. 'Cause of course, he can't help himself. And he eats too many grapes and he falls down. All the grapes just like shoot out of him.
Did he not swallow any of the grapes? Why did all of the grapes come out?
He just ate so many that his stomach was backed up. And so it just all shot out.
Cartoon.
Yeah. And this is where Linguini, they all hit a Linguini, all the grapes that shoot out. And he turns around and he realizes all these rats are in the kitchen. And he's freaking out. Linguini's not happy at all because Remy and the other rats, he calls Remy and the other rats pests and tells them not to come back. Which, oof, man, they were bros just like a couple hours ago. I know, brutal. So we go to the next day. Linguini's freaking out about Anton.
Linguini's thinking too much with his dick now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I got a girl.
Yeah.
I got the position. Forgot where he came from.
I got that molding.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, in defense, well, not defense of Linguini, but in defense of Colette, like she obviously knows what the fuck she's doing to have that position. So I feel like he's also kind of right to be like, Remy, I know you know what's up, but like Colette also obviously knows something to have gotten to that position. So I feel like Remy's being a little bit selfish and a little bit too full of himself.
For sure.
Bit of a rat.
Oh.
Wow.
You shouldn't use rat in that kind of.
I'm so sorry. You're right. I take it back. I'm so sorry.
So yeah, Linguini's freaking out about Anton Ego coming that day or later that day. He goes out to give a speech to pump up his crew. I wrote that it's whelming at best, and I feel like that was generous. It was just not. It wasn't bad, but it definitely, like, if 0 was just like not saying anything, it was probably like a 1.
Did you say it was whelming?
Whelming, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
At best.
At best. And that's generous. I feel like that's
so
a generous
underwhelming.
I don't think it was, well, no, okay. Yeah, underwhelming. Yeah. So he's giving his speech. Remy is looking on from outside, chatting with Emile, and Skinner catches them because they go to get some cheese because Emile wants to cheer him up. So Skinner catches them in this rat trap, which I assume he got at that rat death store we saw earlier. Skinner takes him to the car, basically tells Remy Remy needs to make him a line of frozen foods. In exchange, he won't kill him. So I guess Skinner realizes that Remy knows how to understand English, but we'll just skip over that little thing for now. We go back to Anton enters. Everything's dramatic when he enters. So Anton Ego enters the restaurant, sits down for his meal. Waiter asks him what he wants. He wants perspective. Waiter. After a bit of a preamble, he ends on perspective.
Yeah, it's a long-winded burn that he's trying to go for. He premeditated this, like, I'm gonna go in because that guy Linguini fucking burnt me last time, so I have this really well calculated perspective burn I'm gonna lay on him. Anyways, it works, but it's a long way to get there.
Yeah, he was definitely practicing that on the way over. So he wants perspective.
You ran out of perspective. I guess I'll give you some or whatever.
yeah.
Don't really know what he's going for.
All right.
Waiter has no idea what's going on.
What are you gonna have? Like, if I was a waiter and someone did that to me, like, what the fuck are you ordering? Just say what you want on the menu, man.
That's almost line for line from the movie too. Yeah. So the waiter clearly doesn't know what's going on, and this all ends with Anton just being like, hit me with your best shot. Tell Linguini, cook whatever the fuck he wants. I'm gonna rip it apart no matter what, because this place is shit, your shit, everybody's shit. Anton Ego.
Except for me, I'm hot shit.
Yeah. Some would say he's got an ego, so yeah, it's in the name. So we go back to Remy in the car because Emile was not caught. Remy was caught. Actually, I didn't mention that Remy saved Emile. He pushed him out of the rat trap because he saw it and got caught. So Emile went and got the dad, and they were trying to save Remy by dropping gargoyles from really high up off of a roof onto the car.
Oh, because they have that one jacked rat.
Yeah, right? The one jacked rat. Git, I think that one's
the one who tenderizes meat later.
So Git is helping push gargoyles off, breaks open the trunk. They get in, they free Remy. Remy's on his jailbreak. He's going to go back to the restaurant to help Linguini because he's just like, I got to help my buddy. And he runs off. Linguini is very clearly no good without Remy. Like, this is very obvious. He's a mess. Remy comes into the kitchen. He's just standing tall, chest out in front of everybody. Knives come out from all the other chefs as soon as they see him. They're all running to kill him. And Linguini, he just has faith in Linguini. And Linguini slides in front. He's just like, no!
My friend!
Yeah.
Mon ami.
So Linguini gets them not to kill. And he just gives them this big, long speech. Being like, you all thought it was me, but it's Remy. He's an amazing cook. He's my little chef. He's been doing it the whole time. And nobody's happy. Everybody just ends up leaving, including Colette. She's the last to leave. And I'm pretty sure she almost goes to hit or slap him, but she restrains herself.
Oh, so French.
And leaves. So Linguini's on his own with Remy. They don't know what they're gonna do. It's all very somber and sad. And this is where all the rats show up with the dad because they need cooks, and the dad is there. He's like, family sticks together. So they're going to help Remy cook. While they're discussing all this, the health inspector, not 3 months later, but the next day, shows up and just sees like a sea of rats in the kitchen, just standing around. They're not cooking yet, but standing around in the kitchen, and they send Alpha team of rats to go capture him.
It's Delta team, I'm pretty sure.
Is it Delta team?
Delta team, yep.
Oh, I thought it was Alpha. Okay, they send Delta team after the health inspector to capture him and tie him up, which would be terrifying as a health inspector.
And it's like, they get away with all this later. Like, we'll get there, I guess, but like, this is pretty like bad. They're like kidnapping a guy.
Yeah, but they're rats. They can't really get put through the law in the same way humans can.
But what about Linguini?
That's
true.
true.
He's in there.
Yeah, he's an accomplice. You're right.
Yeah.
So this is where we now get yet another montage, and it's the beginning of Rats cooking montage.
Yes.
Which is
Rise up.
Sequence. Yeah.
Rise of the resistance.
Oh my god. Which the dishwasher thing is the thing that stands out to me when they all like go through the dishwasher to get clean, which is funny to me because like that kind of dishwasher, like an industrial grade kitchen dishwasher, would fuck those rats up.
They would be murdered.
Yeah, that would not go well. But hey, they're clean.
They're clean. They're way clean. Yeah.
Would you feel better if a clean rat was making your food? I guess. Would you still be weirded out?
Probably, yeah.
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 That's an intense question.
I know.
Yes. So yeah, we're getting this amazing montage of all the rats cooking. Remy's just in his element. He's walking around, tasting food, being like, perfect, too much salt, do this, do that. Remy's just like master of this kitchen. Colette comes back. She's obviously weirded out by all the fucking rats in the kitchen and all like cooking, like holding knives and stuff. I don't feel like anybody had seen rats like that before. But Colette takes a deep breath, being the badass she is. She's just like, where do you need me? And gets into it. So Linguini takes her and Remy. Remy shows her the food that he wants to cook, which is ratatouille.
Oh.
That's what he wants to cook. And Colette,
They're all like, what? Really?
Dish. Yeah, it's a peasant dish. Why are you going to cook this? But Remy, he's just like, I know. I'm Remy. I know what's up.
How is it a peasant dish? Have you seen that fucking thing? Like, it seems like a lot of work. Anyways.
I feel like, because isn't it just a bunch of root vegetables?
Yeah.
It's the prepreration that makes it intense, but at its core, it's like root vegetables sliced up.
I guess.
Potatoes aren't fancy.
So yeah, they make ratatouille. It looks obviously amazing. The food is served to Anton, and we get that really good little moment where he's just like, teleported back to being a little kid on that first bite.
That was on top 5 Pixar moments way back. Do you remember that, Sam? Leslie?
That was the first time I met Leslie, and he pitched this
that was
moment.
Leslie's Pixar moment, was that when Anton eats the thing, and he goes, "Oh, I'm a child again." He doesn't say that, but that's what's implied.
That's a really cool. I feel like that's a very, very iconic moment from this movie, is how they do that teleport back in time. And I feel like we've all kind of had that moment in some way, not necessarily with food, but every once in a while, like you see something where you're like a commercial from the 90s or something, and you're just like, boosh, you're like,
Yes.
whoa.
I think you can actually have that moment. Like I've had that moment with food for sure too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
for sure.
Or with smells. I think it's like
Smells,
a sensory thing.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's definitely like the immediate like transformation of
Yeah.
this crusty character into like, food's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone
You see like
can
the
cook.
smile or the frown that he always had all movie, just like, and it goes up to.
Well, he makes that exclamation where he's like, "Oh, wait. He goes for more food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Skinner's in the restaurant as well with like a top hat, or not a top hat, but like a big hat and a newspaper. I don't understand how nobody in that restaurant recognized he was there. He was served by waiters before they all left. But anyway, so Skinner's there. He orders what Anton had ordered. So Skinner also tries it, is also absolutely blown away by it, breaks into the back to be like, what the fuck is going on? And sees all the rats. And this is where the second kidnapping of the movie happens.
Did you bring up that Linguini?
Oh, the waiter.
He's a waiter now, and he's just on
roller
rollerblades.
skates.
And suddenly, he has just amazing dexterity,
Yeah.
and he's just really good at serving plates, and will not fall off his rollerblades, even though the entire movie, he's
He's
a
very
klutz.
clumsy. Yeah.
Yeah. I did skip that. Yes, once Remy starts cooking and the rats take over, Linguini's like, we need somebody to wait tables. And luckily he brought his roller skates with him. So he's just like ripping around, serving everybody. So Skinner breaks in, gets tied up by the rats, thrown in with the health inspector. Anton has finished his meal. He's loved it. He wants to thank the chef who made the meal, and he's like, what a situation I'm in, where the chef I want to thank is also the waiter who served me. And that's where Linguini's like, it wasn't me, bro, I didn't do it. And Anton's like, all right, well, I want to speak to the chef that did make it then. So Linguini goes in the back. Colette, being the fiery person she is, you hear all the banging and smashing. She comes out. She's like, nope, if you want to meet the chef, you have to wait till the end, till everybody's gone. Anton's like, no problem, I'll wait then. Just sipping on his wine, having a great time.
He has like 2 bottles or 3 bottles of wine.
Yeah, he does.
crushes
it.
Get it, ego.
Doesn't look the slightest bit drunk.
No.
Yeah. I'm sure all that wine helped with the reveal that was about to come, though. So once everybody's gone, they're like, okay, they come out, they present Remy to Anton. They tell Anton the whole story, or Linguini does the whole story. Apparently, Anton's just very quiet the whole time, only asks a few questions here and there. He just thanks them for their time at the end and leaves.
They don't even just tell the story; they show him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they show him all the
Linguini
things.
cutting
In a
and shit.
montage.
I like the demonstration.
Which, like, I feel like Colette hasn't seen that yet either, so that would have been pretty bizarre for everyone.
Yep.
Everyone's just like, I love, because I feel like he doesn't really speak during this time, and at the end, like, still doesn't really say anything. And I'm like, this feels so real in like the awkward moment where, like you said, everyone's just like, yep. So that happened.
And this is where I have yet another montage, which is what you were talking about, Tung, where they're showing Anton all the process of how they're cooking and how he controls Linguini and all the other rats doing their shit and everything. So lots of montages in this movie. So he goes away, very somber, very quiet. They're like, I don't know, are we like all going to jail? Or are we like, what's going to happen? So we get Anton's review, and it is glowing.
We got a rave.
Yeah, it's a rave review. I would say, of course, of the food, but specifically just of Remy. And I didn't catch everything that he said, but I noted that like he wrote that the meal at Gusto's changed his perspective on like what food is, who can cook. He does say at the end that not anyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere.
I do like that.
I like
That's
that
a
as
good
well.
line. So that was a good ending. So he loved it, of course. Remy, we all know at this point that Remy's food is amazing. But womp womp, health inspector shuts them down, of course. And as Remy says, what do you think was going to happen? I guess we thought that maybe they would go to jail, but they got shut down. They locked up a health inspector. There's like 300 rats in that kitchen. No normal place will be having rats cook food.
That's what you think.
So then we flash forward now, time jump. And now we're at Remy's restaurant because I guess rats can open a restaurant, but they just can't really like cook the food at somebody else's restaurant.
Yes, if you look at the rules, that is correct.
Yeah, restaurant rules. Yeah, I think that is correct. So Remy's got his own restaurant now. Everybody seems to be living their best life. Remy's in his element. Linguini's his waiter. He seems really good at it. I think Colette is the sous chef.
Probably.
Like. So Colette got her promotion. Everybody's just loving it. We go outside of the restaurant. You see like a huge line. And I guess this is where like it's revealed that the whole movie is being recanted by Remy to some other rats at a table. So that's why there's narration throughout the movie. And then Remy's got to go cook. And of course, Anton's there because Anton loves Remy's food.
And he was fired, right?
And he was an investor.
He was an investor.
Oh, yeah, he was an investor.
He was fired. He was like, they said that like he lost all credibility after that last review of Cousteau's.
Oh.
So he was let go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's very happy, and we know that because he's dressed all in black and wearing a beret.
Surprise me!
Yeah, I love it. So they go to offer. They're like, "Can we interest you in dinner?" And he's like, "Don't you always?" And they're like, "What do you want?" That's where you get the surprise me moment, which is really good. So yeah, Anton seems like he eats every meal there now. Which I mean, if Remy's food's that good, can you blame him?
I can't.
So we get the camera. It goes outside the restaurant now. Kind of starts at the ground, and you see this big lineup outside of Remy's restaurant. Starts panning up, and you get the sign outside the restaurant, which is a rat, and it says Ratatouille under it. And you got Paris in the background. Another beautiful location.
No, Brad. It says La Ratatouille.
Oh, sorry, La Ratatouille is what it says.
It's a very cute sign.
Yeah, it really holds there for a long
extremely
time. Beautiful music, of course. Beautiful scenery. The sign looks really nice there,
It's a great
actually.
sign.
It's a very nice sign.
Cast iron? What do you think?
Oh, it looks cast iron, maybe. And then you get the classic Finn comes up, which is great. Then, just to finish this off really quickly, we get into the end credits. I did note that the end credits, I forgot how good the end credits are. They're like super 2D cartoony. I really loved them. They were super fun. You get a lot of great moments. Like Sam pointed out, when the effects artists come out, you get like a big cartoon fire explosion on the screen. Some really cool credits. And then Sam and I caught at the very end, there was like a logo that comes up that said 100% animation, no motion capture, like a little logo warning thing at the very end, like no pets harmed or no animals harmed, but it was like all like hand
Was it
animation.
no motion capture or was it no rotoscoping? It was one of the two.
I think it was no motion capture.
Okay.
Interesting.
It was very
I do remember
interesting.
the
I've
no
never
art.
seen.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was that, but I don't know. We'd never seen that before, and we we're like, oh, that's interesting.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Which made me think about, like, to bring it to modern times, if we'll start seeing that with, like, movies being like, no AI used. We did, like, this was all by artists.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. That, I feel like we're there. We're almost there.
Yeah, we are. Like, we're getting there. So
Totally.
I appreciated it, I guess. I was like, yeah, okay, let us know what's up.
It's also interesting to think, like, what is and isn't AI? I feel like there's a fine line through with some software. So yeah, but I agree that that'll be like an interesting endorsement that we'll see in the future.
I will only support non-AI movies. So if Disney goes that direction, I'm out of this podcast.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying though, Laura, because like some obviously automation happens in programs that we use right now, that kind of stuff.
sure.
But you're thinking
To
of like
some
from the ground
extent.
up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Brad's summary sure wasn't AI.
Thanks, Brad.
I was trying to find a way to like move it back. Thank you so much, Brad. Ratatouille, everyone. Let's just go around the horn real quick to see how everyone felt. We'll start with Laura.
I wish I wasn't going first because I'm a little bit negative in that it wasn't as good as I remembered, but I do still really love it. And I think for me that the two bits that I don't love are like the love story felt really unnecessary. And the second was that this whole like Remy's subplot of being a thief or whatever, like and Cousteau constantly showing up to tell him not to steal. It just felt like a random accessory to the story. Like it didn't feel like it was grounded in anything, and it didn't feel like there was a real resolution to it.
I think it's like cooks don't steal from their own kitchen type of like mentality.
Yeah, I just didn't really feel it. So those were the two things, but I do think that like the visuals of this film and the music within this film combined so beautifully to really like give the movie such a strong feel to it. That is really the main takeaway for me. So I'm okay with some weaker points of the story in favor of the way it made me feel.
I think I could jump on top of that too, because like going into Ratatouille, I felt very similar. Like I could not wait to watch this film. And like, honestly, I had a great time watching this film. I really did. But you're right. It did not hold up in the same way that I revered it. Maybe I put it too high on a pedestal. And that, yes, some of those weaker moments did shine through. But at the same time, there's so much good in this movie. And there's so much like warmth and like humor and just silly cartoon shit and just amazing looking food that like all of that stuff still tops it for me. And I do think this movie is very special in the way that they talk about like these types of things. But you're right, like the actual relationship between him and the sous chef is probably the weakest part of it. Sam.
I would, kind of jump on a bit what you guys are saying. I mean, again, I didn't have like the biggest memory of it. I remembered liking it, and I would say I still like it, but I can see why I didn't like watch this one over again. I do feel like it's pretty long and a lot I don't know, not that it didn't hold my attention, but yeah, like the bits about the food thief and stuff, I found myself zoning out at that because I was like, I don't feel like you're tying this in right. I do love where it's cartoony, and those parts made me laugh, but not enough to maybe make me watch it again. I feel like also I found it interesting that in my memory, like EGOT guy was like such a big part of this movie.
Anton Ego?
The
Anton
reviewer
Ego.
guy?
Yeah,
Anton Ego.
But like he's not in it that much, and he's kind of like the villain that steps in at the very end. Like for the most part, Skinner's kind of the bad guy, which I kind of forgot about. And I was like, oh, like I kind of wish like it was more like Ego was like maybe more of it than Skinner. Like I don't know what that movie would be, or I'm not gonna like try and picture it right now, but I do feel like that could have been something maybe more interesting to pursue. And then like obviously the romance and stuff didn't really hold up to me either, but yeah. I don't know. It was fine, and I like the cartoony bits, and I think Remy's cute, but not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna revisit this a lot, if ever.
Interesting. Brad.
Yeah, like I wouldn't disagree with everything that everybody said. I think I do feel like this is a unique movie in the Pixar catalog, in the way that most of the other movies, Pixar kind of sets up their own world. Like even Toy Story, it's kind of like toys are alive in this world. Whereas I feel like this movie is set up as like the real world, but rats can control linguini through their hair. So it's just like a very different movie compared to a lot of the other Pixar ones. And yeah, I mean, of course, all the visuals and animation and everything is gorgeous, but yeah, it's enjoyable. I feel like there's more problematic things in it that have kind of come to light over time. Like certain areas haven't aged as well. And I do think there's areas of the story. I agree with Sam that it potentially could have been interesting to like have Ego in the movie more as the bad guy versus Skinner, and then swapping them at the end. Like Ego could have gone in and reviewed them early on and like ripped Linguini apart, and then you get like Linguini cook, or Remy starts cooking with them, and then the name starts getting out there, and Anton's like, I already fucked this guy up, like guess I gotta go back again. So I feel like I could have like somehow worked Anton Ego into the movie more. I do like Skinner though. He's got a lot of really like funny moments throughout the movie. Yeah,
it's true. I'm trying to picture it too. I might come in the opposite opinion of just like, I think I liked how scarcely they used him as like the final boss kind of thing. Like we already got his deal, and seeing him more, I don't know if that would have really, I don't know if we needed to enforce that more of his ideas of like,
it just felt like such a change in stakes to me, but I feel like labeling it as a final boss does make a lot of sense. When you put it that way, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. But I didn't get that vibe, I guess.
But yeah, I do think like, obviously it's a great movie. It's got to good reputation.
Nailed
there
it.
we go. For a reason. Like, it's very cute. The story is fun at like the top level looking at it. Food looks amazing. I feel like it hopefully got like kids excited about cooking, which is always a good thing. I know watching this movie always makes me like excited to have food or cook, and you're just like, fuck yeah, food.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. There's a certain level of charm with Ratatouille that I think is still undeniable. Yeah, I still think I had a lot of fun with it. The only other complaint I would have with the movie, or rather I just forgot how much Remy doesn't talk in the movie. Like, he does talk, but once Linguini's in the picture, Remy's kind of just not, he just becomes the pet character and you don't hear him speak, right? So it's just interesting. Anyways, let's go into the source material. A lot with this one. So obviously we know that was written and directed by Brad Bird, but he took it over from Jan Pinkava in 2005. And this was the idea of this Pinkava person, who originally conceived the film story. But what happened in production was that person was lacking in the confidence in the story development, that Brad Bird was approached to direct the film and revise the story, put a little of that Brad Bird spice in there. Then he took it over, and obviously that's the film that we got today. Here's something that Brad Bird said. Brad Bird was attracted to the film because of the outlandishness of the concept and the conflict that drove it. That rats feared kitchens, yet a rat wanted to work in one. Yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, that's the thing that stands out. That's why this movie, I think, is really special to me even. And that's why I always hold it in like a higher regard, is because like the core concept of the movie where a rat can control a person to cook is just such an original, creative, zany idea that came from the brain of someone that I'm like, man, that is just so wildly imaginative of an idea, and they just made it into a movie that works, and that's not stupid. I think that is just chef's kiss, if you will. Chef's kiss. Brad Bird was also delighted that the film had the potential with high physical comedy, which is another reason why he signed on for the movie. And another change that he made in the source material was that in the original, Gusteau was still alive. So he killed off Gusteau and gave larger roles to Skinner and Colette. So that is your source material. I think that was the right choice.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and go into the Pixar particulars.
Yes,
or
indeed.
you couldn't call it something different this week?
I will be referring to this category as Pixar particulars from here on out.
Okay. No change.
Because I found it in the first place.
All right.
So in the beginning, when we're kind of introduced to Gusteau, we see him on the covers of a couple of magazines. And those are actually real life magazines, including Bon Appetit and Cuisine at Home. We also see a familiar face, or rather a not yet familiar shadow early in the movie, in the scene where Remy is running through an apartment building in Paris. We see the shadow of a dog, and it looks an awful lot like a dog named Doug, who we're going to meet pretty soon. We also see a character from a recent Pixar film. You may have heard of it. It's called The Incredibles. And that character's name is Bon Voyage. He makes an appearance on a newspaper cover as well as working as a mime in the street. Pop quiz. How do you know that Gusteau's restaurant is real fancy?
How?
Because there's no prices on the menus. Oh. That's how you know. We see our old pal, the Pizza Planet truck in this movie, driving over one of the bridges, or as they say in France, pont. P-O-N-T.
Is that true?
That's the word for bridge. Pizza Planet truck drives over that. Remy is an artist, and his original name was Art. A little too on the nose.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too on the nose.
Remy's cuter.
Yeah. Colette rides a motorcycle because she's cool. And you may have noticed that the brand of that motorcycle was Callahan, and that's not a real brand. It's named after Sharon Callahan, who was the director of photography. Another namesake in this movie is Skinner, who is named after B.F. Skinner, a psychologist who famously experimented on rats. Not very nice.
Oh, I thought it was Seymour Skinner from The Simpsons.
Yeah, no, not so much, but good try. This is kind of a funny fact that I read online. There's no human toes in the film, which was a time-saving choice by the animators, but also like there wasn't a lot of opportunity for toes to show up in the movie. Where would you have? So this just feels like a niche thing that somebody who's always looking for toes noticed as they were watching the
People
film.
with feet fetish out there.
Yep. Yeah, and we're not
Lots
judging.
of 'em.
We're not judging. It's just funny to me that they framed it as a fun fact of like, what a great time save for the animators. In case you're ever wondering, Gusteau's restaurant is located on the left bank of the Seine in the 5e arrondissement in Paris. And Linguini's apartment is in Montmartre. I wish I could say those words with a proper accent, but here we are.
Just over the pont.
Yeah, just over the pont. Exactly. Crew members attended French cooking classes. But something that drives me nuts about this movie is that they talk about research that was done in like lots of French restaurants, but then the famous dish, the ratatouille at the end, and most of the research was done at like a restaurant in Napa, California. And I'm like, guys, it's all about French cuisine. But anyways, any guesses as to how many pieces of food were digitally created in this movie?
100.
More.
Are you talking like individual, like every potato counts, or like types
No,
of
I
food?
think like dishes or like different pieces of food
of
kind
things.
of thing. Like ratatouille would be one, but then when it shows just carrots, that would be one.
113.
More.
200.
270.
Wow.
They were created digitally, and before being created digitally, each piece was prepared in person, photographed, and then eaten.
Wow.
Of course.
What a job.
Yeah, and so we've heard a lot about Disney merch over the past few movies. So for this movie, there were attempts at marketing tie-ins, but those proved difficult because no food product companies wanted to be associated with a rat. Yeah.
Fair.
And then finally, just a few voice actors that'll identify for the movie, within the movie. So Colette is voiced by Janine Garofalo. Gusteau is voiced by Brad Garrett, which I didn't guess that one. Remy is Patton Oswalt, as we heard. And of course, our old pal John Ratzenberger plays Mustafa the waiter.
And
His
Ian
voice
Holm
is
is
not
Skinner.
recognizable in this one.
Yeah. Interesting.
And who's Skinner?
Ian Holm.
I don't know.
Plays Bilbo in Lord of the Rings.
Bobo.
Oh,
Yeah.
old
Old Bilbo.
Old
Yeah.
Bobo.
Gotcha.
Yes, Bobo.
Oh, Bobo the Hobbit.
Prince Abubu.
Yeah. Just to go off of yours, Laura, your Pixar particulars here, you mentioned they went over to France and the States to learn French dishes and stuff. The one that made the film, one of the producers' name is Brad Lewis. Lots of Brads in this. Brad Lewis interned at Thomas Keller's, which is a French laundry restaurant, which is, I don't know what that means.
Laundry restaurant?
It says laundry restaurant. I don't know what that means, but that's where Keller developed the confit bialdi. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that dish was used in the film. So
Yeah, when it was Keller's Ratatouille that the visual of the Ratatouille was based on.
but was it the confit bialdi?
Je ne sais pas.
Okay, comme ci, comme ça. And the last one I have here is that Gusteau was taken like as inspiration from Bernard Loiseau.
L'oiseau?
Loiseau.
L'oiseau. Which means bird.
It's not spelled the same though, but he apparently is a big legend in France, also like culinary legend, who died by suicide when he found out about a star that was going to be knocked off his restaurant.
Oh, no.
So, also,
my God.
Yeah, pioneer in the French cuisine, and foodies would recognize the parallels, but obviously they went on a more, lighthearted, Gusteau still died, but it wasn't like this. Yeah, and that's it for this. So how about we go straight into the animation angle? Oh,
I do have one more particular.
Oh, please.
The 113A thing. Do you guys know where that was?
Oh, no, I didn't notice it. Is it college license
Or
plate?
A113, not 113A. It was on the ear tag of the super jacked rat. It was the name.
Nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a ton for animation angle today, except that Brad and I were discussing before this that this is basically the culmination of all the techniques we've been talking about in the last like 4 or 5, where it's like the subsurface scattering from cars is like all over the kitchen, and the fur is on the rat, and the water is everywhere, and pretty much we've just like they've learned all these things and kept leveling up, and now we get Ratatouille, which showcases basically it all, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think looking back at all the other movies, like learning fur, learning water, all the rendering techniques, all the lighting techniques, like it felt like they were specifically zoning in on learning one, like challenging themselves to learn one thing every movie to build upon. And not to say I'm sure that they learned something new for this one, but to me, this movie really feels like them being like, okay, like let's put it all together now, which is why I pointed out the wet rat early on, because he like goes through the water stream. And I feel like that just that one shot is such a flex by Pixar to be like, look at this furry rat coming towards camera. A water stream is in front of him. He goes through the water stream and now his fur is wet. And it's just like Pixar just whipping their dick out and just being like, fuck.
Because at this time, we are getting to remind everyone the Robinsons.
And the movie after that is Bolt, right? And even that doesn't look
Bolt
nearly
was
as good as this.
the first time we saw water, and even that was just like an establishing shot of a lake. He's not really interacting with it. Like, I remember bringing up the water in that movie being like, ooh, water, but like they don't do anything with it.
Yeah. Guys, remember in Meet the Robinsons when I didn't realize that the villain was the childhood best friend? I still think about that.
Oh my goodness.
Goob.
The guy who looks like Waluigi. Yeah. I will say, like, it's really fun to watch Linguini move around. I think that's like where I feel like a lot of the animators probably had like just a ball of a time to be like, let's just make him fucking just the wavy tube man at a like outside a
he's a wet noodle.
Exactly. And it's just it is infinitely fun to watch him move around like that.
Long
it feels
limbed
like a
Linguini.
cartoon.
Exactly. Yeah.
So many of their other movies, like in The Incredibles, of course, there's cartoony moments in that with like Elastigirl. But I feel like that movie, they're like, we're doing humans. That's like, nobody's ever done that. We're going to figure out how to do muscles and bones and how muscles contract when you bend your arm and when you rotate your wrist. Like, how does the forearm move? And it's like them figuring all that out. Whereas this movie, they're like, okay, now that we know how to go like super realistic, now we can have fun and go cartoony. And they get like the Linguini moments. But yeah, it definitely feels so. I mean, early on, we talked about whether or not it was an event movie. And I still don't really think it is, but when I think about everything that Pixar has builded to this point to make this movie at the time that they made it, it does feel very significant for like animated movies. I mean, in that kind of event way.
And even if like Linguini's cartoony, like I felt like just the way Remy moved up like the just pipes and stuff like that, like it felt very, to me, realistic of how a rat would move. Like it looked really good. I mean, up until he like floats on a paper airplane with the whale in his mouth and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? I think it looked really good.
I've seen a rat do that.
But how about we go right into 5-star, 1-star here? I just have a few quick ones. I took snippets from 5-star, 1-star this week because some of them were very, very long and I didn't want to read all of them. So here's a 5-star one here. This one's from JH Plays Beyblades and Movies.
Nice.
Every word of this is also capitalized too. Like it starts with the capital and then it's just regular lowercase. Okay. So just picture that.
Okay.
I watched this movie. I love this movie. In fact, I didn't like this movie as a kid because it was totally lost to me. But now I find it interesting. It's just a story of a rat and a human finding their dreams. 5 stars.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
Jack Monroe, 5-star review. Veggies. 2 eggplants, 6 Roma tomatoes, 2 yellow squashes, 2 zucchinis, a sauce, and then, okay, I don't have to keep going. He wrote the recipe to write about it.
Somebody had to do it.
A full recipe. It would take me a few minutes to get through, so I won't read it all, but yeah, it's quite good. So thank you, Jack Monroe.
Is that 5 stars?
5 stars. and got a lot of likes for it too.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and at the end,
Is that supposed to be like the soup that they make in the beginning?
no, it's
Ratatouille.
I think it's the Ratatouille.
Oh, it's Ratatouille.
Yeah.
and
okay.
it serves 8 servings. Yeah. Oh, I wrote
good.
it down. Just nailed down what it is. It's a bright and chunky summer vegetable stew made with eggplant, zucchini, bell peppers, tomatoes, garlic and herbs, and olive oil. So that's kind of your general thing of what ratatouille is. And if you want the recipe, then you can Google it. I won't post it.
Or you can ask Jack.
Yes, 2 1-star reviews here. 1 star by Hollis Ramsey. An omelet, a soup, and ratatouille itself are the only distinct dishes Pixar's Rat serves. However, no particular ingredient is specified except once at the very beginning. The rat finds a mushroom and a chunk of chèvre. He decides that this combo needs saffron to complete it. I completely disagree in the strongest terms. In no universe do mushrooms and chèvre, both strong flavors on their own, need saffron, an earthy spice that overwhelms all other flavors, unless used very sparingly, most often being steeped in a liquid to complement them. He refers to Italian saffron, but saffron is not cultivated in Italy. From that moment on, I couldn't accept the story's premise that this rat had a fine-tuned sense of smell and taste and that he was a master of combining ingredients. 1 star.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's like 10 minutes into the movie.
That sounds like me every time I watch a figure skating movie.
Yeah, it was intense. And he keeps going too. That's a chunk of his review, just a small chunk.
I feel like this guy needs to actually try it. I mean, he's
Agreed.
just like, you don't put those together. It's like, you don't know. Have you tried?
Yeah. Have you ever
Put
tried
those
lightning it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, was it like that was the key ingredient? He even said so. So this guy's review is moot.
I agree.
Yep.
Last 1-star review by Lindsay Williams. Well, I'm only giving it 1 star right now because I only saw the movie once and I couldn't even follow it because I was in junior high and watched it in complete French. So I can't give any more than 1 star just because of that reason. Ha ha ha. I will finally be watching it in English tomorrow with my program at home from 1 to about 3 o'clock. 5 exclamation marks. Then I can give my real review with either a perfect 5, really good 4, 3, bad 2, and terrible 1. 3 exclamation marks. Let's wait and see until tomorrow. I saw Ratatouille in French in 2010. 1 star.
Wow.
I would call that review completely necessary.
Why would you
Thank
take
you,
the time to
Lindsay.
write this review to be like, just wait for my other review?
We needed it.
Yeah. Can you like follow people? Like, do these people get followers that are just like, oh, I love your reviews. I can't wait to see.
Can't wait to revise your review. Like, we didn't even get a
can't
notification on that. But finally, let's just go into the hot kitchen while we go into hot takes.
Hot takes.
Hot takes brought to you by
Saffron?
The flame.
the oven, the stove,
oven.
the stove. Is there anything
Devon-
else that's not
Devon
on
flame?
on the nose with this? They don't burn themselves once in the movie, do they?
Actually, Colette has some burn marks on her arms.
Oh, but she doesn't have. She has very clean sleeves,
Yes,
as we know.
she does.
And Anton does get burned by Linguini.
Oh, okay, let's use that. Yeah, because the kitchen burns is way too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with Linguini's hot burns. All right, I guess I'll go first. I think as a casting thing really quickly here, I think the guy from The Office, Kevin, can play Gusto.
Okay.
You know, Brian Baumgartner.
Okay.
You know who I'm
We're
talking
talking about the live action version?
Live action version.
Are you saying the actor or like Kevin?
Probably the actor.
I don't think Kevin could pull it off.
And I mean, I feel like this one's on the nose, and obviously rest in peace, but Alan Rickman as Anton Ego.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I
Have
believe
you
it.
guys seen the video of that guy's dad who he gets to dress as Anton Ego? And it's like TikToks or something. Oh, everybody, if you just Google dad Anton Ego TikTok,
Yeah.
it's very adorable and hilarious.
We'll check it out.
Yeah, let's go.
That
with-
guy should play Anton Ego.
Okay, hot take. But we should go to Sam next, I think.
I don't really have any hot takes.
That was Sam's hot takes. Check out the
That was my
TikTok
hot
video.
take. I also have written cheese is the best food. So why does
Okay,
All right.
at least that's kind
All
of
right.
a hot take.
it's what rats eat? Why does he need to do any better? He's already got the best food.
True.
Arguable. Brad, hot take?
I don't think I have any hot takes this time. We kind of touched on a few of them as we were going through the summary. I feel like a hot take, maybe a little too hot, is that Paris is like the pinnacle of food culture in the world. I'm not saying it's like not, but I'm also saying there's plenty other places in the world with amazing food and amazing culture. So I feel like that's very gusto to be like, we're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. The French always think they're the best, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laura.
French fake accents are the worst fake accents.
They don't really try too hard in this
There's
movie,
a
but it happens every
whole
once in a
country
while.
full of French women, and they had to cast Janine Garofalo doing a fake French accent.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
All right, I guess it's just you, me, and Laura. Is Alfredo Linguini a racist name?
If he was Italian, it would be.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. It's just a weird name. I mean, like, it's kind of charming, Alfredo Linguini, but then I'm like, well, if someone called a Vietnamese character
Myself.
or something like that, I would be like, I don't know how I feel about that. Anyways, I wonder how the Italians feel.
Yeah. And I wonder where Linguini was, like, what's his backstory? Because he clearly had an American accent. And related to that, my hot take is we need the prequel of how an American rat named Django ended up running a French colony. I don't understand. He was in charge, yet he clearly wasn't French.
Who's Django?
The dad.
Oh, the dad?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I got you. I understand.
So there we go.
Linguini and Mrs. Incredible should hook up because of how elasticy.
All right. That's a good one.
I'd feel bad for Elastigirl. Ratatouille is my preferred action movie.
Preferred action movie?
Yeah.
In what way? Expand.
Well, because it's an action movie and I like it.
Okay. Two more for me.
I guess the hot take is that it's an action movie.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't frame that
You
correctly.
did not. But now I get it.
Yeah.
Two more for me. Actually, I'll pass it to the group here. Frozen dinners, yay or nay?
Depends.
Because Gusto.
I would say yay. I have them frequently enough.
And what frozen dinners would you because I'm
Crave
thinking
ones are good.
I have the Crave ones. Occasionally, I have this lean cuisine
Chrissy
one I
Teigen?
like. I have a Michelina's one I like. I do a lot of frozen
Michelina's.
lasagnas.
wow.
M&M's has lots of frozen
True.
meals.
I'm guessing. Okay, there. When you bring up M&Ms, that's a different level of frozen dinners. Because when I think of frozen dinners, I think of like Big Man, whatever.
Hungry
I think of
Man.
Hungry Man,
Swanson.
and Michelina's. Because when I worked at Superstore, I had on lunch all the time or on break, I would go buy myself a frozen dinner, pop in the microwave. So I had a fuck ton of those. Like I became a master at which ones were the good ones, especially the Hungry Man ones, which like arguably are all pretty bad. So I don't know. I think
There's the steamer ones too. I get them.
it's been a while, I guess. But I
It's
guess
been
my
a
hot
while.
take was that I'm over them. But the thing is, there's a level. If they're M&Ms, completely different ballgame.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah or nay, Laura?
I haven't had them since I was in high school, and I remember getting the Michelina's mac and cheese a lot, and that was
classic.
a big yay.
Classic.
Big yay.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Brad?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I obviously there's like bad frozen dinners, but yeah, like frozen lasagnas or Crave is really good. All the ones Sam mentioned are really good. There's definitely like plenty. I feel like frozen food technologies come pretty far. Like
Okay,
the
maybe I have
steam
to give it
ones.
another chance because I haven't had the steam ones that you're talking about. But again, when I had the Michelina's one, there was one time I got the Alfredo because it was either the mac and cheese.
I
or
do like the Alfredo
one, which I was obsessed with for a while. But one time I got it and I microwaved it, and it was just one long noodle in the package. And only the beginning part of the noodle was saucy and the rest of it was just a noodle. And I'm like, I need to change my life a bit.
I don't get any that have meat in them because they weird me out. Also, that's not true. Not never, sometimes, but for the most part, I stick to vegetarian ones because
that's smart. Because the Hungry Man meat is questionable.
I don't think I've ever had it.
What is that?
Not really meat. Laura?
I forgot to ring the alarm earlier, so let's get a wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo for the vaulted ceilings at Gusto's. Hot damn, those are some sexy ceilings.
All right, I have one more. I'm glad that Ratatouille does not have a sequel. But if it did, what do you think it'd be called?
Ratatouille.
It's right there. If they do not do that, that is a missed opportunity, but they don't need a sequel. But if they did, they have
I feel like that's reason enough for Pixar, though, based on the number of sequels they've done.
It's been a while, though. This is like
Ratatouille.
2007, so...
I feel like they'd have to get Brad Bird to agree again, like with Incredibles.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I got 2 left. One, modern film and television could learn a thing or two from Ratatouille when it comes to lighting design. Will you please stop making everything so damn dark? Thank you. And lastly, the greatest city planning decision of all time was when Paris's city council set a height limit of 121 feet for new buildings in 1973. Because that's today's skyline.
Is this a chef's kiss
It's
again?
a chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
It's a chef's kiss.
That was a chef's kiss, everybody.
It is a chef's kiss.
All right.
Iconic.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you for joining us in Paris in today's episode of Pixar Pals. Next episode, we are going into the post-apocalyptic future and heading into space. Yeah, because we're gonna go watch Wow. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this right off the top. That's a fucking event movie. You know, we've been dancing around the other ones. I guess we're being conservative, but Wally's an event movie. I think. But we'll be up to discussion for later. We'll see. We'll see. I'm seeing Brad's like a maybe. Who knows? We'll save it. We'll save it. But yes.
No, I've just got resting maybe face.
Fair enough. I think that's it for today's episode. Go grab yourself some delicious food because it's been a long podcast. But before we go, of course, we have to sing you out in a little French tune with Sam and Laura. Here we go. No, this is the Pixar Pals outro.
Chef's kiss.